For more on the investigation, let's bring in Orleans Parish District Attorney Jason Williams. Thank you so much for your time on such a tragic day for you and your community. What can you tell us about the investigation? Is the threat believed to be over at this point?
No, the threat is not over. This is an active and fluid investigation. Much of Bourbon Street is a very large and active crime scene. There are a lot of moving parts. One, to try to bring everyone who was involved in this to justice, and to also make sure that our locals and visitors are safe as they continue to navigate the city of New Orleans.
Do you feel confident that the Sugar Bowl can go on tomorrow safely for everybody?
No, that's not a decision for one person. Sugar Bowl leaders, city leaders have been meeting about that all day and will continue to meet about that. The decision to shift it 24 hours to put more precautions in place was wise and was smart, but this is as devastating and as shocking as you can imagine that it is. I was in the French Quarter having dinner last night. My college-age son was on Bourbon Street celebrating with friends until roughly about 2 o'clock, just before this happened. So this was an attack on my home, but it was not just an attack on my city. It was an attack on our country and our way of life. It didn't just go after Democrats or Republicans. They went after Americans. He went after Americans and our way of life.
And we heard in the press conference from officials today the importance of holding whoever was responsible accountable. We know that the attacker is deceased. What is law enforcement doing now to figure out who, if anyone, that attacker worked with? And will your office be involved in holding those people accountable?
I imagine you're going to see New Orleans and the state have been working together in a way that you don't see in a lot of other places. State, the AG, LSP, NOPD, my office. Coordination is very good. It was already very good, but you're going to see a level of coordination that you probably don't see anywhere else in the country in terms of national, state, and local investigators and prosecutors working to hold every single person that played any role in this attack accountable. I mean, this attack was clearly intended to harm a lot more people. This truck was used as an odious weapon. He opened fire after the truck could not move anymore. He had bombs ready to hurt other people. The only reason there wasn't more loss of life was because of the quick work of the men and women of the New Orleans Police Department. They ran to that danger. They neutralized it quickly before he could cause more harm. And they're heroes. I have to say that they're heroes, and I'm thankful for them.
I do have to ask you because, and I know there will be a time to assess whether more could have been done, but in the press conference today, it was repeated that those bollards, those barricades on Bourbon Street were under construction, nearing completion, their replacement ahead of the Super Bowl. They were not up, according to the mayor today, and that we should mention also that the New Orleans police superintendent said, look, this was an act of evil, and that they planned for these bollards to not be the only deterrent, that they had patrol cars and other barriers, and that the person, the terrorist, drove onto the sidewalk around the police vehicle. We saw that in the surveillance video. They said we had a plan, but the terrorists defeated it. Do you have any comments or questions about that particular fact of the case right now?
We've got lots of questions, and I'm going to keep asking those questions until they're satisfied. Right now, we're in a triage situation of trying to go after who else was involved. But yes, those bollards went up after that horrific attack in Europe in 2017, in which there was a loss of life because of a truck driven into a crowd. And we knew that Bourbon Street, I used to be on the city council, I was president of the city council, and we knew that Bourbon Street was a particularly soft target for that sort of attack, which is why we authorized and allocated money to put those barricades up. Now, at some point, those barricades were inoperable and they were being repaired. And there are going to be a lot of questions about the speed with which those repairs were being made or not being made. But as you just said, you can see in that video that this man, hell-bent on evil, went around the area where a police car was, where that barricade should have been up. He went around, he went on the sidewalk. there was nothing on the sidewalk. So there's going to be an autopsy about every single thing that was in existence before this happened. And I imagine that you'll see the city of New Orleans and other American cities changing everything about how we protect, particularly soft targets. Just like after the 9/11 attacks, we had to change the way we handled air travel.
Yeah.
And this is going to change the way that we handle large crowds and big events. But this person was hell bent on evil. And it's a clear reminder that evil is real. It is not an abstract. Just as sure as there's good, there's evil in this world.
And it hit so close to home for you. You said your own son was there in that area up until about 2 a.m. This happening just about an hour and 15 minutes later. What is your message to your community tonight?
My message to my community is I know that we are all reeling. I'm reeling. This has been a very emotional day. I have not eaten a bite of food, as I'm sure a lot of other people are in that same situation. But the men and women of the NOPD and the men and women of the Louisiana State Police are on their job, and they have the help of the FBI, who is leading this investigation. And every single person is doing everything they can to make sure that we find anybody who was in any small way involved in causing this carnage, to make sure that they are held accountable, they're brought to justice, and they spend the rest of their lives in jail.
Jason Williams, we appreciate you and your time on such a tragic day for you and your community. Thank you.